Thank you very much, Dr. Robertson. Our next presenter will be Mr. Lorenzo Turner, Sr., LUTCF. I'll explain to you what that is. Lorenzo Turner, Sr. is currently the staff manager for Western and Southern Life Insurance Company in Washington, D.C. office. He has held this position for the last 7 years, and he's been in the industry for over 25 years. He's a 2014 graduate of the American College, where he received his LUTCF, Life Underwriter Training College Fellow Financial Designation. He served in the United States Marine Corps for 10 years. I'm Army, I won't hold that against him, and has been a member of the American Legion for 40 years, serving as the commander 4 of those years, and also as a member of the Marine Corps League for 20 years. Through his service in the Marine Corps and his relentless professional service to his community, Lorenzo has dedicated his life to helping others. He often speaks about applying the Marine Corps motto, always faithful, to his personal and professional life. Lorenzo is an 8-year prostate cancer survivor. Lorenzo.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. It's on? Okay. I want to thank Dr. Sheldon and Dr. Farmington. I met Dr. Sheldon at the Bowie State Health Fair about 3 or 4 months ago, and being military connection, we started talking about prostate cancer and our military experience. And we was at the health fair for the very same reason. My goal is to always pass the information on to my community about different things. I'm not a doctor. I'm from the financial side of the business, and I want to be more proactive. And when I became injured with this prostate illness, I guess you can call it illness, I feel the same way Dr. Kennard feel about the fact that I thought I was a survivor, but I'm a warrior today, because I strongly believe that I'm on a mission, and it's so unbelievable that most people that I run into within my profession do not know nothing about prostate cancer. You know, they know the symptoms, but don't know the effects of it. But as I go on into my industry and I meet different people, I found out that I have a mission. My mission was to pass this information to my people. And within the insurance industry, you know, we do so many different things. But one thing that really stuck to me was the fact that when I became ill with this prostate sickness back in 2006, I woke up about 3 or 4 times that night, you know, to urinate. And I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. And after I did my simple research, you know, I had something called the prostate enlargement. So I go to the doctors and they do a biopsy. And before I know it, I had very little symptoms. I think it was stage 1 of prostate cancer. So they did that, the seed implant, brachytherapy, seed implant, and that was 8 years ago. Today I am cancer-free. My PSA is 0.01. It's below 1, and I am truly blessed. And from that day on, I made a commitment to myself to go out into my community and find out what's going on. As I mentioned before, my mother's side of the family, everyone had some type of cancer, and they died from that cancer. And it never stuck to me until I was injured with the same type of sickness. But I made a commitment to myself to go out and just pass this word on. And then being in the insurance industry, you know, I find, you know, in all the education that I've received and all the different types of training, that we protect everything. We protect our homes, our cars, you know, and we protect even our cell phones. And we buy health insurance simply for, you know, to pay the doctors in case we get sick. What can we do to be proactive? What can we do? You know, there's a product called critical illness, and I've been passing this, you know, well, I started in my church. I went to my church, and my church was the size of this room. And I asked everyone in the church, would all the men please stand up if you had any type of prostate awareness? Half the church stood up. And that's when I gave my first commitment to the Lord to try to pass this information on. Nobody knew what they can do before they get sick. As the doctor, I think it was Cooney, she mentioned about the family history. That's the message I like to stress to everyone today, is to know your status. And if you know your status, my entire family have a cancer, has been affected by some form of cancer. So I try to educate them about what they can do to be proactive. And by getting this policy, called critical illness, you can set aside different things, and they'll pay you a lump sum. So now the insurance industry know that because of medical technology and because of technology itself, we're going to live longer. So we must always protect ourselves beforehand, not after you receive some type of sickness or illness. I want to thank everyone here, and I am a warrior for everyone. And if you have any information that you need to know, please contact me or contact your financial representative. Thank you.
We have time for a few questions. If anybody have any questions for any of our two panelists or speakers about their experience as a prostate cancer warrior. Dr. Gotu, this.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I appreciate you all from coming up and sharing your story. It requires a lot of courage, and it's a wonderful network to be part of. I was just curious to get your impressions about that conversation that you have with your physicians, and I'll provide some context. I'll talk about this in my own little talk that I'm going to do in the next few minutes. I think that there are challenges in the way that providers, clinicians, doctors, nurses, and what have you, interact with patients when we have that conversation about the diagnosis and about the treatment. And so I'm just wondering your feelings about how empowered you felt during that interaction, during that exchange with your doctor over the time period that you eventually made your diagnosis about what you wanted to do, or made your decision about what you wanted to do with your diagnosis.
If I can just address that briefly with my colleague on the podium here. As a physician, I often have to give people bad news with regards to the diseases I see, autoimmune diseases, lupus and sarcoid and things like that. And whenever I'm going to tell them something like that, I make sure we have plenty of time to discuss it and all their questions are answered. But when you become a patient, as I did that day, I realized what I've heard them say: you can't hear anything. After they tell you that diagnosis, luckily, as I said, my girlfriend was there. She told me things that he said that day that I didn't even hear. You can't fathom it. It's not you. They're not talking about you. What does this mean? You automatically think of all the negative things sometimes first. So it took quite a few sessions. Maybe what I have learned from it is a breach, a discussion of what the overall picture is, give them time to digest it and bring them back. Because I didn't know that was possible. I heard someone say that with regards to cancer, different other types of cancer. Here I'm talking about cancer myself. When it was told to me, I just remember the statement as I was writing a book. And I remember him saying, there's ugliness here. That's all I can remember him saying. And then showing me the stage. So it does require a thoughtful amount of time and understanding the impact that it's going to be in this person's life, how it's going to change their life in a way that they've never imagined. That's my experience.
Dr. Kennard.
Thank you. Dr. Gotu is my physician, and he was the one that diagnosed me with early stage prostate cancer. And I'll tell you the way he approached it. He said, Doc, I got good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Well, since I had to hear them both, I said, you make the choice. So he told me, and I'm not a young man, as you can tell, but I didn't hesitate. I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. I did not hesitate. He told me about the radiation oncologist at Howard University Hospital, who was very, very accomplished. And he said, I'm not telling you that you have to go to him, but give him a trial. So I put all my faith in Dr. Gotu. He was so straight up and forward, and I cannot thank him for the care he has provided for me over the past 12 years. Thank you very much.
Yes, Robbie?
Yes, I'd just like to say that all of what I hear is very, very true, but there's one factor that when a patient goes in and you get the diagnosis that you have cancer, I don't care how smart you are and how much you really know, there's a special effect that comes over you, and that effect is that, oh God, maybe I'm going to die, or perhaps I'm going to die because I have this illness. So I think just that alone causes you to really internalize stuff very, very different. And unless you have a very sensitive doctor, as you just said, that's really concerned about your psyche, it becomes very, very hard to really have a diagnosis, you know, and go forward and do all of the things that you would consider as normal. So my point is that there's an effect that patients have when they get the diagnosis of cancer that, in my opinion, cannot be described in terms of how people really feel about it, because all of us feel very different.
We have time for maybe one more question. Dr. Benjamin?
I'll just be brief. Generally, I agree with you. What I do is I have a short appointment after the biopsy, and it's either you have cancer, you don't have cancer. If you do have cancer, here is some information. And then I answer as many questions as possible, knowing that when you come back for your next appointment, I will repeat the same information, because all of those things will go right through you. Once you've gotten the information, I always tell my patients, talk to your family members. You'll find that there are people, your friends that have cancer, that have been keeping this a secret, and I don't know why. Talk to them about the treatment options. They'll tell you what they had in their experiences, and it will help you, guide you through this path in terms of your cancer and your treatment. So I think it's very important to, as a physician, to have that first interview where you say, you have cancer, you don't have cancer, and then separate it from that big discussion where it can be about an hour discussing options, risks, benefits, and other aspects of your disease.
Yes, Dr. Carter, sir.
Yeah, just briefly want to point out the fact that when we do this screening for prostate cancer, it's not some sort of, you can't just have this sort of monolithic screening process. This is an individual disease. You have to look at each individual separately. And in your case, with normal examination multiple times by an expert and normal PSAs, you still got diagnosed. Why? Because somebody looked at family history. So, you got to look at all parts of this and individualize the screening and the treatment based on the individual, and not some sort of just group. You're 50, you got to get screened, you're 45. You're going to miss a lot of people like that, and people with aggressive disease with a lot of problems. So,
Thank you very much. Once again, I'd like to thank Dr. Cooney, also James Robeson, and Lorenzo for their testimony. We also, on your program, you might notice that there was another speaker, Preston Williams, Jr. Preston Williams is a firefighter battling 2 different cancers, prostate cancer being one of them. And just last week when I spoke with him, he had evidently had a lesion and he had radiation. So we was hoping that he'd be here this morning, but maybe there's an issue that came up. But also just wanted to clarify that. And he's a fighter, and he's also writing to the Rise to Conquer Cancer for the Washington, D.C. area to raise money for cancer.
Dr. Johnson, can I just see it?
Yes.
Can I just have a minute? If I could just have another 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds, there's something important I wanted to see, because there's so many young ladies out here, and I want you to know, for this disease, which affects men, how important that support system is. And if we don't tell you that we thank you and how much we appreciate, it is amazing that testosterone made me the man that I am. But in the 2 years that I had to go without it with suppression, I became a better man. It's very interesting. Men who have testosterone don't realize this. When you are devoid of that testosterone, the background noise is gone. It's amazing. You see people in a different way. You approach them in a different way. Everybody's the same. Yes, we're going to talk about libido and all that the things that happen, and you can notice when it comes back, because your testosterone comes back, your aggressiveness comes back, different things. But those 2 years that I was under treatment, and I wish this on no one, it did make me a better man by making me able to see more clearly and objectively and understand male-female relationships. It's interesting. Support is important. Thank you for all the support that you guys give.